If we get the sense of what the calm and quiet mind is, or no mind, empty mind, when we're not thinking anything, and you may find peace, you may find more sensation, um, biological feedback accurately in terms of the sense of breathing or the vibration that you may feel on your fingertip or body, and or you can listen to the bird and can tell what's going on, so that your mind is not, you're not occupied in your mind. So more you have that, as I said elsewhere, it's like you have another identity of you. Big myself, I call mini me and big me, or you can call it you and nature's way, or you and God, or you and emptiness, or you and wu, which is no action in Chinese, instead of the artificial action or human action. Again, that's the nature's way, nature. So if you have those two identities that you start to realize and understand that two universes existing, coexisting, so to speak, because you use your mind and process things, and that's one of you doing with your mind, and there's no mind functioning at the same time. As I mentioned elsewhere, it's just the way of how things get processed, organized as a nature's way. And I mentioned that with the dust of universe, there's a law of the universe that made us to be here for whatever reason. I say that's the most wonderful miracle that I can think of. Amazing that I'm talking and possibly communicating with you. How can it be? So if we understand those points, no mind, empty mind, calm and quiet mind, and the mind functioning by itself, so two identities, me and mini-me, or me and nature's way, or God's way, or whatever the term that you may want to use, two identities. So when we are occupied, you don't see the other part. When you are free and not occupied, deluded, confused, then you can see the connection. You can be, like I said, melting into the nature was one of the ways I mentioned, that you are at peace with yourself, comfortable as you are. So more you feel comfortable as you are with a calm and quiet mind, even if you're doing nothing, and that's the funny sentence, doing nothing. The mind says you should do something. So you may even feel guilty if you don't do anything. And that's not the point of it. As much as you go to sleep, and in the middle of the sleep you may come up with a dream that may solve some of the problem, it's like a relationship to the other world, other universe, that you are sleeping and one of you are sleeping, the other you is functioning to process things, digest things, and organize things and take care of the immune system, whatever the case is, and or come up with a dream because you had some unresolved issues that the body is feeling that you need to take care of, so that the big me or awakening me, which is when you are asleep, there's another me awakened, and that can process it and get back to you as a dream, as if that is the way to solve the problem. So it's like a corn, it's the puzzle. The dream is a way to bridge the gap so that you are connected to each other with the other you. And then if you start to relate to the other you, you find the world changed, or you may call it awakening. And more you get that sense of no mind or alertness that may come with you, or the vibration you may feel on the fingertip or part of your body, or in your stomach, or the breathing process, or vibration throughout the whole body, whatever the case is, you are finding this awakening starting to happen. So you, as I mentioned that in my case, I wanted to expand that and see, because that's how I can reach out to the potentials within me or come up with a wisdom. So I'm doing more Tai Chi, for example, because that to me is one of the easiest way to get to the state that I feel this vibration throughout my whole body. It may sound weird, you may not feel like it, it all depends. But as you start to meditate, practice, and pay attention to the bodily sensation and not deal with your mind, you get connected. You start to be friend with the other you, the other universe. And I said that I want to explore more of that time to be like that, my being in that state, because that helped me to make a better judgment as opposed to only small bit of a calm and quiet time, but more time I spend. And here's another contradictory issue that you can think about, because if you spend more time doing nothing, mind says, don't do nothing, it's not productive. And you can play with the mind and get busy with whatever. But the point of this back and forth discussion, as if a dialogue between the mini me or big me, or one identity to the other identity, actually the other identity is always quiet. You don't know that it exists in your mind. So there's already a hurdle or the gap to bridge. And that's a subtle issue, but it's a huge gap, and you may not realize it at all for a long time. It may take hours and hours of meditation or whatever the process you can employ to reach out to the limit as if you spend time doing nothing. And that's not easy because you're not made like that. So you think, or the mind would think like that. But once you get to know what that state is, you may realize that unthinkable state of doing nothing is actually full of lots of interesting stuff, unbelievable stuff, like I mentioned with the miracle of being born and being able to talk and connect to the other side or this side, and almost like a plane, like I may have mentioned, playing to the law of nature, playing to the game of God, because there's something going on, and when the mind is empty, you start to feel it, you sense it, from the vibration, from perhaps such event like when you go for a little walk and then, wait a minute, what's going on here? There's a blue sky and a cloud. Wow. Well, it just happened to me, so it's easy for me to talk about those experiences. Or the sound of chime that I made, and it just vibrates as if someone is singing a song for me from the other world. So, and I may have mentioned about the story of Kenji Miyazawa, who made us the poem, and I like the expression he says that all the poems and the stories that he make, he borrowed from him being in the field, where the wind goes through the forest, making a little noise, or the flowers on the roadside, or the moonlit field, or whatever the experience he had, or the dew on the grass tip, or spider web with a drop of dews. All this is giving him an idea or story, the other world, story of the other world. And that's another miracle. that we can possibly experience in different ways, because people's orientation may be different, and I cannot tell what your case may be. I just sense after being in various states or reading various sutras and the novels and people talking about the experience of this and that, I synthesize those and I start to find my way of how I navigate my life related to the other universe, the other way, nature's way, or the other me, which has the notion of the emptiness, or as I may have mentioned, the typical Zen expression is waves are there, but down deep is the ocean, quiet ocean. Without that, you don't exist as waves. So there's a relationship in between, and that's what we start to find. So let me say just one thing to finish this story. I mentioned about how I feel it's important to spend more time in being in the state of calm and quiet mind. I start to do more Tai Chi, and even just a few movements, one swing movement is good enough for me to connect back to that state of being with nature, or the vibration that I sense throughout my body. So I'm spending more time, and I'm spending more time also for this YouTube and voice memo, because something is telling me that I need to talk about this for my own sake, to realize the unknown possibility or potential or the power within me, and to have a relationship or let it take over in a way. And then there's a moment for the mind to play its own game. So there's that back and forth connection, realization, or you have a lost problem, you don't know what to do, and then realize the answer for that, the wisdom may pop up. And there's that interesting play, as if a man's mind is start to be able to play the game of God in the manner that is not disruptive, but rather harmonious and interesting. So this is, in a way, inner world that nobody can see. It's your subjective experience, but you live in a society connecting to other people using the mind and the word expression. So there's a little bit of structure or the construct that you may find it a bit confusing just hearing the story. But once you start to engage yourself in this process and explore and start to be familiarized with yourself, with other you, the two identities getting close to each other, the waves and ocean, me and mini-me, or big me, or human artificial construct to the natural construct, or Wu Wei, nature's way. Those are the play of human and God, if you want to call it. And maybe the play is not the right expression. I don't know what it is, but I'm just, as I go, I'm trying to express the sense and share with whoever may be listening, so that possibly, as much as I am to be sincere and truthful to myself, we may, through this medium of YouTube, find some level of communication, which may be meaningful for you or for me or for both of us and possibly more. There are lots of paradox, unfamiliar expressions, and perhaps possibly sound weird or unrecognizable, but I'm just sharing where I am, what I do, why and how, and which direction I'm moving, so that I feel that this is the path to be sincere and truthful. And I just wanted to have the moment that I could share, and if you can accept or just listen to me and experiment perhaps, and share your story if there is, I think that could be interesting. As far as I know, as much as I checked different scriptures and proverbs and saying and sutras and whatever, also persons like Eckhart Tolle or Daisetz Suzuki, Meister Eckhart, there are many others that I can think of, Ryokan, some of the Zen monks, and it appears, as Ikkyu, one of the Zen monks, said, there are many different ways that we can climb up the mountain, but at the top of the mountain, we all see the full moon. So let's see how we may go on this journey and explore it truthfully and sincerely, so that we make the most of what we can. Even if we don't know what to do, we'll find a way moving forward. Thank you.